Hi, we're here in Quaker House, and most of Europe, understandably, has been quite focused on coronavirus this week. But there have been other developments as well, and most notably on Monday, the European Commission published its new EUAfrica strategy. So we thought, as a distraction from coronavirus, we would give a hot off the desk take from QCEA on what the EU-Africa strategy says and what it might mean for EU-African relations. So, Kékéli, what's your take?
For all the talk of geopolitical commission and partnership of equals, I think this is a rerun from previous strategies and action plans. And I think it's interesting to note that between 2014 and 2019, there were 204 policies looking at migration, for example, between Africa and Europe. So what is a little bit different is a focus on the green transition and digital anything. And when it comes to those topics, it would be useful to reflect on Europe carbon footprints versus African carbon footprints, and but also the reason why digital is so lagging on the continent, and how the historical and structural reason for underdevelopment in some areas I think that we tend to forget in the conversation. What is also interesting is the mention of peace and security, and on those the African Union also expressed concern and is one of its priorities. But I am a little bit puzzled by the European response as presented by Joseph Borrell a few weeks ago in Addis, which is we need to silence guns, we need more guns. For us working on peace and security, this raised eyebrows and strong concerns.
Understandably.
And finally, migration and mobility is a key part of the strategy. With that, it's Europe migration is a strong concern. I'm not sure for Africa this is such an issue, considering that 80% of migration in Africa happens within the region, and out of the 20% of migration to Europe, 80% is also done legally. So I think there might be an imbalance when it comes to opinions and priorities. Finally, growth and jobs. So this is also key. Europe is positioning itself to support growth and jobs in Africa. My take is that the African diaspora contributes much more to jobs and growth through remittances. But also, do you think that trade can solve Africa's issues?
No, not alone, certainly. The European Commission's strategy in terms of trade with Africa over recent years has been framed around regional economic partnership agreements, which have been rejected by a number of African countries. And that's partly because we talk all the time about equal partnership, but in trade relations, there is very little equality in that relationship. And what we need to be thinking about with trade is that it's a tool and not an end in itself. And if you don't have it embedded and tightly tied to sustainable development, then I don't see how there's any coherence in the strategy between that agenda around green growth, digitalisation and sustainable development, and actually how trade contributes. If you don't embed environmental protection, human rights, labour rights into that trade relationship in a very substantive way. And up till now, that just hasn't been the case. So trade could be part of the answer, but at the moment, the way that it's framed, I fear that it isn't. And from what we've kind of looked at, it does feel like this strategy may be another strategy that adds to the list of strategies that we've seen. Old wine in new bottles. Let's hope. Is there hope that it could be something different, that it could be a new start?
I will say let's watch this space.